Hey everyone, it's Kayvon with Ascari Art. So I've got another flower alcohol ink demo. Hopefully this one doesn't turn into a face again. In fact, I know it didn't turn into a face because I decided to record the intro after the video was done. So here's what, here we go. Here's what it turned out to be. It's not bad. It's, again, practice mindset. That's all that matters. I learned a lot doing this one. It's not like really my favorite one, but it's okay. Hopefully you can learn as much as I did this one. And that's it. Let's get started. All right, so let's get started. So with this technique, I've already tried this once. So I'm going to do this again, but I'm going to change it up in the look. We're going to try it and see if we can come up with something different. So we're going to put a couple drops. And then we're going to let this dry. Also going to add orange, the sunset orange. And the salmon. All right, so in order for me to prevent this from spreading, I got to use a blow dryer for this part. So we're just going to kind of go in circles. So you do need a blow dryer on hand just in case, just for this initial part, because it'll start spreading. And I mean, it may be okay, but I don't want it to spread too much. I want the concentration of color to be in one area. All right, so the idea with this technique, what I'm learning after doing now, I've done quite a few, just like, as I've been practicing. I've been practicing with it to figure out what to do and not to do. And the idea is for me to not use an airbrush. I need to have patience. You have to have patience with this technique. And I'm learning that the hard way. So let's get started. So what I'm going to do so this is dry. You see it's not moving at all. And we're going to do the first petal. So we're going to put alcohol here, and I'm gonna move the paper. You could either move the paper or use this, or do it together like what I'm doing now. I think moving the paper is nice because it gives it this natural look, and you can use the air from the Giotto to kind of help it along. You could also add a little bit more alcohol here. If you want it to go off the page, you can. See what I'm doing here? Just kind of I don't want the edges to be on the paper. So what I mean by that is I don't want a collection of ink on the bottom. So I use this to kind of push it off the page. And see, as you can see here, you can see there's some beautiful lines that are coming out. And it reminds me of the stem, the base of the petal and how the colors seep. And you can always push it back if you want to, and just keep playing with it till you get it to where you want it. Now, the napkin comes in handy because you see how the ink is collecting on the edge. I don't know if you can kind of see that right there. And what we want to do is we just want to collect that. We don't want it to seep. And we don't want it to look unnatural. So we're gonna kind of just wipe it away and then use the Giotto dry it out. Okay, so we got one. I think this one's fairly dry, enough to where it's not moving. So let's do it again. Now I'm gonna extend it over here now. So we're gonna put drops, let it sit. Can't pick up the paper. There we go. So I'm just moving it back and forth to get it to pick up some of the color of the ink and to push it back down. Now the salmon color is very light, and you can kind of see it's very light. Add a little bit more ink, or alcohol, sorry. Help it along. You could do this, you can add the alcohol before the rest of the alcohol dries, as long as it's in the same area. If I start adding alcohol here and try to move it this way, all this wet stuff that's over here is just gonna bleed in. So that's why if you're gonna focus on one of the petals, you can add alcohol as much as you want on that one petal that you're working with, but once you're done, let it dry so you can move on to the next. So that would be my suggestion. So let's let that one dry a little bit more. Now, again, so like for example, I'm not liking this weird stuff happening, so I'm gonna add alcohol here. And I'm moving it back and forth. I don't know if you can kind of see that. It's hard to do it in front of the camera, so. And take my paper towel and just kind of rub that off. Now, if you're wondering what kind of paper I'm using or what I'm using, I'm actually using my alcohol ink sketchbook. Now you can buy this on my website. I made a few of these, approximately, I think, I don't remember, 33 of them or 35 of them. I use them as an example. It uses synthetic paper, UPO paper, in the book. So just feel free to check out my website. It's on there. Once I sell out of them, though, I'm not sure if I'm going to make any more. So it's good to get it while it's available. All right, so I'm going to let that dry. Now we're going to play with this area here. This is the area that had the sunset orange. So we're going to add drops and just let it just move it back and forth. This technique is fairly simple. I think you can do some really cool things with it. Once you learn how to control the ink and make like very distinct petals with it, then you can do some really cool, very symmetrical petals. I'm still kind of discovering how to, make my petals the same. But I'm also not trying to do an exact flower. It's an abstract representation of a flower, so that's the idea, right? So now I'm gonna play with adding some here. We're gonna do some in between, maybe bring some others in here, but I gotta let this dry first. Show you a close-up of what this looks like right now as it's drying. There's what it looks like. If you can see that. So once I let that dry, it's dry enough to where it's not going to move. We're going to add alcohol here. Just moving it back and forth, trying to make sure I move it and I'm paying attention to the ink moving and also keeping it on camera so you can see it. So it's like a combination of two obstacles in one. Again, the other thing you should think about is, obviously this is you gotta have a practice mindset, and I've said this before in a lot of my other videos, even my big commission stuff. You always have to imagine that this is just a practice, you're learning. You gotta have that mindset. If you don't, you're gonna get frustrated with it. You're gonna think, oh, why can't you may do it one time and it may come out amazing, and then you try to replicate that same thing and it just doesn't come out the same way because you're expecting that beautiful masterpiece. And I just always say, you know, keep it as a practice mindset. You're learning as you're going. So, and what I'm doing with this, I'm literally pushing the air straight. Like I'm using it to kind of make these lines without having to use a brush. And I could use a brush, and I've thought about using a brush, but for this method and technique, I want to just kind of show it to y'all without a brush, so you can kind of see that you could do this without really any tools except for the ones I'm showing you. So let's add some more alcohol here. I'm letting it soak the ink, and then we're gonna let it drip. And you can even combine so again, we're gonna do these. Just moving it back and forth, like back and forth this way to move the alcohol back and forth this way. So, and see how I'm adding these lines, like with the Giotto. I think we need a little bit more cranberry. So we're gonna add a drop right over here. I'm gonna let it dry. I don't want it to mess up the rest of my petals, so I'll use the blow dryer to just like make sure it's dry. There we go. Luckily the alcohol ink will dry pretty quickly. So let's do this. Now we're gonna add see, it's how it's taking a little bit of the cranberry and the orange, the sunset orange. So if I'm not liking this little shape, then you can just push it back and start over. We'll add some more alcohol here. See, I'm just gently pushing it to give me the shape. Adding a little bit more alcohol. So I can get that beautiful color shape that I'm looking for. Now we're moving it back. So as I let this dry, I'm gonna push. Okay, as I let this dry, I told you that I've been practicing different things. So let me show you some of the examples to show you that I'm not afraid to practice. As you may think I'm like really good at this, and I'm not. But you see, I've practiced. I'm trying different techniques, different things, learning how to move the ink. And this is officially my 4th attempt. My first attempt was on video, and then I tried different things to see if I can get different effects and flowers and all that stuff. And you know, I'm not a flower painter, or you know, I don't really like painting flowers, but I do like the abstract aspect of the flower. Like I do like the fact that people see a flower in it. That's what I kind of enjoy. So all right, there we go. I have to keep moving it because I don't want there we go. All right. Still have quite a few petals to do, so now this is dry, so we're gonna go over here. Uh-oh, I think I just messed up, but it's okay. I just put a drop right there by accident, but I can't touch it right now, so I gotta do this one first and then come back to that. I really did like this one, but messed it up. It's okay. Practice mindset. Okay, so let's... So the alcohol is drying pretty quickly, so I need to add a little bit, a couple more drops to kind of help it push off the... I'm going to add a smaller drop to separate. I'm going to separate this petal into two, so actually need more. I accidentally didn't do enough. Alright. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit more sunset orange right here. Okay. And just let it dry. So I'm going to push some of that color in. Push it out, I meant, this way. Hopefully you can see this as I'm working on it. Alright, and then now we're pushing it back. We're going to add a little bit of alcohol here to get rid of this bubble that we just made by accident and see if I can push this out. And the answer is no, so we're going to have to start over here and kind of just push it back a little. I'll wash this area out. Again, that paper towel, you can use it and just kind of give yourself a little bit more creative control. So we want to make sure that this looks like a pedal. So we're going to add a little bit more alcohol and then just kind of let it go down so that there isn't, and go to the side, but not too far to the side like I'm doing now. And then bring it back just to kind of soften that area up. I'm sure you could probably do this with an airbrush. There's a lot of people that do this with an airbrush, and that's great, but you know, from a beginner perspective, if you have trouble with the airbrush, because the airbrush is pretty complicated, you're gonna get frustrated, and that's the goal. That's not the goal here. The goal is to make sure that you can do this without any crazy special tools. And once you learn how to control it this way, and airbrushing will add a different complexity to it that you may not be ready for as a beginner. So all right. Apologize if you could hear my kids screaming in the background. They're playing. Let's use the paper towel to kind of just absorb the ink. See what happens if we use a blow dryer to just kind of dry it from a distance. We're just, if you want to try to dry it sooner, you could do that too. You see, I'm not moving it per se. I'm just not moving the ink. I'm just letting it dry the way I liked it, instead of like waiting for it to come off the edge. So that's one option. I mean, we're kind of learning as we go, learning different things as we go. So let's do this. Let's put a little bit more alcohol here. And pushing it back. softening these little petals as much as I can. I like the way this looks, so I'm checking to see if I can dry it. Yeah, so you can use a blow dryer to dry it sooner if you're impatient like I am. Because I don't have all day to sit here and watch alcohol dry. Alright, let's see. Some of you may, but I don't. I'm used to working fast. So patience is a virtue that not everyone has. I have patience with other things. It's just this is... Alright, let's see. We want some of the line variations in here, so we're gonna use this to kind of push, make those lines happen. And I'm just moving it around, and also it's like this petal is bent on the edge of the paper. It's kind of cool. Let's add some more variations. So I like the way this one looks, so let's see if we can dry it up. Smoothing it around. Trying not to have it move around, sorry. There we go. Okay. I do want to see if I can embellish this a little bit more. This is where this comes in, because I wanted it to go that way. All right. Not done with this side yet. Just adding the ink where we think the petals should go, and I'm not a flower professional or flower expert, so I don't know where petals should be. I'm just doing this from an abstract perspective. I don't feel like there's a lot of color variation here, because I mean, you've got orange and you've got the cranberry, so we're gonna add a little eggplant. I know it's, let's try that. So we're gonna let that dry. We're gonna help it dry. All right. So we're gonna push it this way first. And you can help it along as you can just add alcohol, to it and help it along. And push it back and help it along. Didn't do much, but alright, let's add a little bit here. We just want it to give a little bit more darker areas of violet in there, because I thought cranberry was going to be dark enough, but it wasn't. I like the contrast, so we're just going to keep playing with that. And see, I'm pushing it kind of in the center because I want that center. We want some sort of center focal point, I guess. Not really center focal point, but center to where these things are coming from, where there's a concentration of color. See, I'm kind of using that. Let's use the paper towel, dry this up a bit, because it's a little too much coming off the edge. I do like some of the stuff that's happening here, but I don't want it to drown out the edge. Using the blow dryer again to just kind of dry it out. I'm not using the blow dryer to move the ink, I'm just using it to dry. So I'm further away, just helping it dry. Okay? So you can see it's completely dry, there's no reflection of wetness. So you can just keep going with this and just keep adding alcohol and adding as many petals as you'd like. Okay, letting it dry again. All right. Let's add some here. Dry that out. There we go. Now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna try to push this back in because it's kind of weird there. So I put it on the outside this time. Oops. And I'm trying to see if I can. Yeah, added too much alcohol, but it's all right. We'll fix that. So, where's my Giotto? We'll have to redo this side, so we'll just. All right, so let's see if we can wipe this away. We're gonna douse our napkin with some alcohol, paper towel with some alcohol, and we're gonna see if we can remove this. Now, some papers will allow you to do this, and some papers will have a slight stain. It just depends on the paper. Nara, for example, won't stain as much as Yupo. This is obviously Yupo, so there is a little bit of a stain. But it depends on the color too, right? So, I think the way to fix this part is to add more purple here and kind of push it through. So we're going to do that. Let it dry. Okay, so here's where the patient comes in, because patience from my perspective is, you know, let's push the purple right into this eggplant, right into the orange right now, but we need to be patient and let it dry, because then we're going to have a mess on our hands. So we're going to let this dry, even let this area dry, even though I don't like the way it looks. And then we're going to try it. Now that it's dry, put some alcohol here and just move the paper around, but we have to wait. There we go. So move it back and forth. And clean off. All right, I'm gonna let this dry.
that was bad. Make sure you keep your alcohol bottles away from your painting in case you don't want to get anything on there, because that could be an issue. Because if it falls over, then you're gonna have this like blobs of ink on top of your. Sometimes those could be good happy accidents, but I've never seen it be a happy accident. Bob Ross was amazing with that, by the way. I mean, happy accidents. I remember he could have something that looked like he would put it down and it would look terrible, and then he would somehow pull it out and like pull it off, and you're just like, wow, okay, that's a true master of their medium for sure. All right, I mean, for this fourth piece, I think this is cool. We're gonna add our little, I have the little brush. Let's just add a direction to this. So we're just gonna put, you know, I'm gonna do this. And we're gonna stem. Just creating this nice we're going from thick to thin. And I want it to look fragile, so. There we go. All right. So that is it. Let's just add a little bit more. Alright, so after looking at this for a little while, I'm going to change it a bit. I'm going to try a different thing. Compositionally, it's not really the best. It's got a lot of stuff going on this side that I feel like it needs to be balanced a little more. So what we're going to do, as you can see here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just like play with it a little bit and see what comes out of it. All right. I didn't say much in this. At the end, I just wanted to focus, and you can kind of watch me work. So I want to make sure that this is super thin. There we go. Again, like this is just, you know, we're practicing all this stuff here. This is just practice. I wanted to see what would happen if I actually went in and bled out the stem to see what it would do, and it's not bad. It gives you this like greenish effect. But I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you liked it. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't done so. Here's the full piece. It's not really my favorite, but at least hopefully you learned something from it. I know I did. Again, thank you, Ascari Art.